It's 2023 and the retro handheld market has not been standing still. Devices continue to get more features, power, and increase in size until many modern options resemble a cross between a cell phone, a Nintendo Switch, and a Steam Deck. This is the main reason I don't really cover retro handhelds as much anymore, as I already have all three of those devices, but when I saw Anbernic's latest mini handheld, I knew I had to try it. The RG35XX is a bit of a hodgepodge when you look at the spec sheet. In many ways, it's the device we all wanted years ago, but only now are the costs low enough to make this new, old-school handheld. The form factor and buttons are definitely old school. It looks very much like a Game Boy Pocket and has all the buttons of an original PlayStation controller, no thumbsticks in sight. The screen is decidedly new school, being a 3.5-inch laminated IPS screen with a resolution of 640 by 480. It's a step up from even the RG35V and is bright and colorful. The processor is old school and seems to be an Action Semi S500, a chip that appeared in the Rose Apple Pi and other Raspberry Pi clones from several years ago. It's more than enough for 2D games, but well under what's in the Odroid Go Advanced and especially newer handhelds. It's also making do with 256 megabytes of RAM and mono sound from a tinny speaker, but it also supports gamepads, rumble, HDMI out, dual micro SD cards, and USB Type-C, which are all new school niceties. The software is decidedly old school. The OS is bare bones and simple in its design. This makes it very approachable for new players since it's easy to pick up and play, but seasoned retro gamers will miss the customizability. One benefit of this is speed. Turning it on and starting a game is very fast. There are no shortcuts to memorize either. Every option is one tap away by pressing the menu button. You can load and save states, change the brightness, adjust the filter, and that's about it. For most players, this is all they need, but enthusiasts will miss things like one-to-one pixel scaling, per-game controls, speed controls, cheat codes, and probably most importantly, an aspect ratio selector. Whether you're playing PlayStation, SNES, or Game Boy, the game is always going to fill the screen. For console games, this really isn't an issue, but especially handheld games will look stretched. For a certain market, this isn't a deal breaker, but it does seem like a glaring omission. At least the added screen resolution is being used appropriately, unlike some of the original Anbernic models, with game filters helping to improve game visuals and boost UI clarity. Performance is also good if you set your expectations accordingly. Since this game has no thumbsticks, 3D games were never what this unit was intended for. The most demanding system the default ROM includes is the PlayStation 1, and everything lower than that appears to play correctly without any lag or stuttering. If you are looking to play 2D games on the go, this will do you just fine. PS1, however, is a weird situation. In a vacuum, the performance seems okay, even great. Games start almost instantly compared to the RG351V, which lets you know the processing and memory speeds aren't really an issue. When you play the game, though, everything just takes longer. Loading in games can be 2 to 3 times longer than the RG351V. It's almost as if the emulator on the RG35XX is limited to the 1x read speed on the original PlayStation, whereas the RG351V is emulating the fast load option on the PS2. Having played Digimon World 3 on a PS1, I know those blue squares are a regular occurrence on the original hardware, so it's not wrong that the RG35XX has them, but obviously it could be better. One actual issue has to do with PS1 sound. Sound effects have a slight delay on this handheld. Not enough to break anything really, but it does make the perceived speed to be lower. This should be something that can be fixed in software, but when or if that happens is unknown. Battery life is also pretty short, maybe 3 to 4 hours on PS1. Thankfully, it does charge at a decent speed, though no fast charging. Really, the worst thing I can say about the RG35XX is what it's not. It's not for purists, not for enthusiasts, and not for hardcore users. It's not for people with big hands, people who want to play 3D games, or those who want to do things other than gaming on their handheld. Yes, it has some quirks, like the aspect ratio being fixed and that the L and R buttons can be pressed down accidentally. And yes, the UI has some translation issues. But if you are someone looking for a nice way to play older games on the go, someone who isn't as familiar with video games in general, or maybe a child who won't want all those extra features anyways, this is a great option in the $60 price range.